All this week, our 11 Investigates team will be taking a look back at the 1980 murder of Sister Margaret Ann Paul.
But we'll also be taking a look at whether the church attempted to interfere with the investigation. Lead investigator Brian Duggar has this story.
It needs to come down. It's needed to come down.
Yeah.
20 years. We've been asking the same thing for 20 years.
It's been long enough, that's for sure.
That's right.
So,
Two people bound by decades of unanswered questions and painful betrayal. Claudia Versalati and Lee Paul visit a sign honoring a priest they say helped bury the truth.
The Toledo Catholic Diocese was a part of the problem, and they should be a part of the solution.
Claudia advocates for survivors of clergy abuse across Ohio. Lee has spent decades seeking answers in the killing of his aunt, Sister Margaret Ann Paul.
We've tried cooperating, we've tried protesting, we've tried letter writing.
More than 45 years later, the past is still unfinished.
And it's never too late to do the right thing.
This is a complete story few people know about one of the darkest chapters in Toledo's history.
I believe there is a cover-up. The church knew what was going on. The diocese knew what was going on. Police department knew what was going on.
They honor that person with a public city-owned street sign on the anniversary of her murder. It doesn't get any worse than that.
And this is the farm that Sister Margaret Ann would have grown up on out north of Edgerton here. It's a 200-acre farm.
Sister Margaret Ann Paul is murdered one day before her 72nd birthday.
She was a very kind, gentle, caring person, and she was very meticulous, very organized person, and she just she loved people. That was her goal. She always wanted to help people.
She served the Catholic Church for more than 53 years. In 1980, she cared for the chapel at the Old Mercy Hospital. A detective's note documented the morning of April 5th, 1980, inside Mercy Hospital, Sister Margaret Ann's final hours. She enters the dining room at 6:10 a.m. She eats, leaves, returns, and is last seen leaving the dining room at 6:50. A witness hears a loud noise from the area of the chapel at 7 a.m. At 7:30, the same witness hears footsteps running in an upstairs hallway.
It was very traumatic to me.
Sister Madeline Marie Gordon enters the sacristy at 8:20. She finds Sister Margaret Ann on the floor, dead.
I walked over and observed her, and I had to even bend over to see who it was. I was in there for a matter of seconds, and I ran out and screamed.
Sister Margaret Ann's underwear is pulled down, the rest of her clothing bunched up.
That someone took her by the neck and choked her so hard the two bones in the side of her neck broke.
An autopsy reveals she'd been stabbed 31 times.
It's a mockery. I mean, the inverted cross on the person is a mockery to God. It's a mockery to the person.
Days later, family and clergy gather to bury Sister Margaret Ann.
It shows Father Robinson officiating the funeral.
Father Gerald Robinson delivers the homily. As he speaks, a sudden, violent storm erupts.
The chapel illuminated, the windows along the side were being pelted with water or maybe hail, I don't know. There was a glass dome on top, I believe there was a cross on top. That thing was just shaking and rattling. The back doors to the chapel blew open.
During the service, Lee's uncle turns to the family with a belief that will echo for decades.
After that day and from then on, he felt that Father Robinson was guilty.
And he's not alone. Inconsistencies, even lies pop up in Father Robinson's interviews with police. And what happens during a second day of interviews on April 19th is still being debated today.
And they thought potentially they had him maybe ready to confess. When there was a knock on the door,
a high-ranking police official and Monsignor Jerome Schmidt entered the interrogation room. which just seems unheard of. And after some time had elapsed, the door opens. Father Robinson is free to go.
And for the next 24 years, the case goes cold.
11 Investigates' Brian Duggar joins us in the studio now.
Now, because this was such a vicious killing, did that tell investigators anything about a motive and maybe who the suspect might be, Brian?
Yeah, it actually did. It told them quite a bit. Now, when someone is stabbed that many times, it's known as a rage killing. And those are typically done by someone the person knows. And investigators also learned that Sister Margaret Ann was very angry about Friday's services being cut short in the chapel. And the theory is that she confronted one of the church's two priests about it, and they didn't take her criticism very well. And Father Robinson, they believe, killed her.
So Brian, something that stuck out to us, this freak storm, why did that make such an impression?
Yeah, I mean, it made an impression because that storm wasn't predicted, and it occurred while Father Robinson was overseeing this funeral. As you saw there, I mean, it actually made family members believe that he was the killer. And that really bad windstorm that we had last week, it actually damaged the Calvary Cemetery where Father Robinson is buried. And I went out there, and an angel at his gravesite was destroyed. You know, whether it's true or not, Lee Paul believes it was a message from God or from his aunt. So if anybody has any questions about the story, email me at bduggar@wtol.com. But for now, reporting in studio, this is Brian Duggar for 11 Investigates.
Our 11 Investigates team worked extremely hard on this documentary for you. You can watch the full documentary on WTOL 11+. It is a free download for your TV. Her name was Sister Margaret Ann. Follows right after the news at 6 o'clock. Streaming exclusively on WTOL 11+ at 6:30.
Well, if you want to watch Her Name Was Sister Margaret Ann and read the full 11 Investigate series, you can text the word sister to 419-248-1100. That number is also on your screen. We'll send it directly to your phone. You'll get links to the full documentary and all of our reporting. You won't want to miss it.